Today, I will be studying the story of Noah's Ark, but there is a catch. At the end of this live stream, I will be asked one question that I have not prepared for. And if I cannot answer this one question at the end of the stream, my chat will decide a forfeit upon me. And I will do that live on Instagram. So, yeah. Let's see how this goes. Noah's Ark, here we go. I'm excited. Noah's Ark is actually, one of my favorites. It's one of those stories that you sort of you read when you're a kid. Even when I wasn't even Christian as a kid, and yet, you know what? Noah's Ark, that was my jam. That was my jam. So here we go. We're going to start off with a little bit of reading here, and this is tough because now, in previous streams, I didn't have a consequence. I was just reading through leisurely. I was enjoying myself, taking my time, doing everything. And now there's something on the line, which is adding a little bit more nervous this stream. But I'm sure I'll be able to do it. But who knows? I don't even know what the forfeit will be. Who knows? Oh, I'm worried. But I will say this one thing is that this will change something, because I will have to look a little bit deeper, because of course I don't know what that question will be at all. It could be today, because this is there's a little bit more on the line, but let's give it a go. We're going to look really deep, like always. We're going to look really deep into the story and make sure we don't really try and miss anything. We're going to look a little bit deeper in the sense that we're going to try and see possibly historical, scientific details which might link to the broader sense of what the story is about. So, and that's what we've been doing in the previous streams. And I've really enjoyed the previous streams. They've been really good, and I have already learned so much. So I hope that today's stream, even with this added bit of drama, 10 minutes before the stream, by the way, I decided to do this. But I've wasted enough time talking. Let's go. Let's read it. Noah's Ark. Here we go. So I will be reading. I think I'm going to start reading from the New Revised Standard Version. I've got the King James Version on standby, but and also I discovered this last stream, which is the New American Standard Bible. Now, this is a really cool Bible, because this takes the original Hebrew and it's like word for word, so it's not quite trying to tell the story like a storybook, where it's a little bit more, it flows a little nicer. It sort of gets the gist out of it and then puts it in as close as, but this is literally word for word, so some things might not even make sense like at all. But if I would need like a word that's like, what is the actual word used here, then this one is the one. But I'm going to start the reading from Genesis 5 with Adam's descent. So we finished Adam and Eve in the last stream, and it goes into the story of Noah and his sons. I'm excited to find out. I haven't read this for a while. This is one of the stories, because obviously it's Genesis, so it's right at the beginning. So it's a common one for people to read, because if you're going to start reading the Bible, a lot of people start from the beginning like a normal book. So this one's quite a well-known story. So if there is anything that you know about it, let me know in chat or in the comments after this stream goes out. So here we go. Let's zoom in on this. This is the list of the descendants of Adam. When God created humankind, he made them in the likeness of God, male and female he created them, and he blessed them and named them humankind when they were created. When Adam had lived for 130 years, he became the father of a son in his likeness, according to his image, and named him Seth. The days of Adam after he became the father of Seth were 800 years. That's a long time. I need to look into that because that's quite amazing. And he had other sons and daughters. Thus, all the days that Adam lived were 930 years. 930 years. Wow. And he died. Nice. When Seth had lived for 105 years, he became the father of Enosh. Seth lived after the birth of Enosh for 807 years. I really need to look into this. Why are they living for so long? 807 years. I wonder if they did like, because when you see like a hundred, someone in the hundreds, they're often falling apart a bit, to put it nicely. So to be 800, like times that by 8, and I wonder if like their back pain and everything is still as severe or even worse. And had other sons and daughters. Thus, all the days of Seth were 912 years, and he died. When Enosh had lived for 90 years, he became the father of Kenan. That's interesting. So he was a father at 90 years old. That's quite an old age to become a father in modern standards. Anyway, these ages are quite mental, actually. Enosh lived after the birth of Canaan for 815 years and had other sons and daughters. Thus, all the days of Enosh were 905 years, and he died. Interesting enough, it's very precise. It's not just 900 years, it's 905 years. So it seems like they are actually taking some form of measurement here. There is some kind of um, counting here. When Canaan had lived for 70 years, he became the father of Malalele. 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 What a name. Canaan lived after the birth of Malalele for 840 years and had other sons and daughters. Thus, all the days of Canaan were 910 years, and he died. When Malalele had lived for 65 years, this is very repetitive, by the way. It's just someone was born, someone died, someone was born, someone was died. I try and look into why this even exists, because if you were reading like a normal story, this is the sort of stuff that people wouldn't include. So in that sense, it does sort of give it sort of a historical feel here. Like you're trying to get the idea of the family tree, who's related to who, what's sort of happening in this leading up to the context of Noah's Ark, between Noah's Ark and Adam and Eve. Thus, all the days of Malali was 895 years old, and he died. When Jared had lived for 162 years, he became the father of Enoch. Jared lived after the birth of Enoch for 800 years and had other sons and daughters. Thus, all the days of Jared were 962 years, and he died. When Enoch had lived 65 years, he became the father of Methuselah. That looks like the Greek, in the Greek Odyssey, Medusa. With the snake hair that turns the people to stone. Methuselah. Enoch walked with God after the birth of Methuselah for 300 years and had other sons and daughters. Thus, all the days of Enoch were 365 years. Enoch walked with God and he was no more because God took him. I really hope that it doesn't ask any questions. The question at the end is nothing to do with this because I'm not going to remember the date. Like how long did Methuselah live? Enoch walked with God. There he was no more because God took him. So he died. It's just another way of saying he died. They got bored with saying he died at the end of every paragraph, so they just put he was no longer here because God took him. We thought we'd spice it up a little bit in the literature. When Methuselah had lived for 187 years, it's a he. I thought it was a woman. He became the father of Lamech. Methuselah lived after the birth of Lamech for 782 years and had other sons and daughters. Thus, all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died. When Lamech had lived for 182 years, he became the father of a son. He named him Noah. We've got there. We're finally at Noah. Brilliant. Saying, out of the ground that the Lord has cursed. Oh, they've given Noah a little bit more info here. Is got the main character energy coming up. Has cursed this one. Hang on, let's read that again. Out of the ground that the Lord has cursed, this one shall bring us relief from our work. So that seems to be the idea that the ground is cursed because of what Cain did with the murdering of Abel. I'm just trying to remember what happened last stream. Has cursed that one should bring relief. So Noah is to bring some sort of relief to that. So he's possibly a little bit more righteous, maybe. Don't know. What do you think? And they're going to bring us relief from our work and from the toil of our hands. Lamech lived after the birth of Noah for 595 years and had other sons and daughters. Thus, all the days of Lamech were 777 years, and he died. After Noah was 500 years old, Noah became the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Cool. That was a lot. I'm going to be honest, that was a lot of family history there. I really feel a part of the family here. I feel like I know everything about them now. But all that was really, that whole page was trying to link Adam to Noah through the male line of the family tree. So something that is the main thing that's sticks out to me in this is how on earth are people living to 912 years old and 800 years old and all of these hundreds when today people really are lucky if they live to 100. You know what I mean? So that's going to be my first question. Maybe that will be the question asked at the end of the stream. Why did people live longer before the flood? Ooh. Biblical figures lived for hundreds of years, mainly due to the theological belief that near creation, humanity was closer to the original perfect and potentially immortal design before sin introduced death. So we did see that in the story of Adam and Eve. There was the introduction to death. So because it was closer to... So what this is saying is because it was closer to the perfect world that God created before sin, people lived longer because of a lack of disease. And apparently here it says a perfect pre-flood climate and the need to populate the earth. So do people live shorter lives after? I'm going to look that up now. Did people live shorter after the flood? Interesting. So what changed in the flood then? So yes, it does in fact um, change what's going on to a much more sort of more 1780, which is about the average of today, really. Um, hmm. What? Why did people live shorter after the flood? Human lifespans shortened significantly after the flood, primarily due to rapid genetic decay, mutations, environmental changes such as the loss of protective water vapor canopy, leading to increased radiation. Interesting. That's quite a scientific view on it, and a dramatic shift in diet. So people started eating junk. Sounds very similar to today's world. Everyone started eating fast food. Okay, so following the flood, humanity faced genetic bottleneck of only 8 people, accelerating the decrease in lifespan. Hmm. Genetic bottleneck. That's a new way of saying it, isn't it? Genetic bottleneck. There was like less people to populate, therefore it increased disease in lifespan. Fair enough. Sounds correct. Um, this is interesting. After the flood, human diet changed from plant-based to including meat. So because everyone was vegetarian, they lived longer? Hmm. Maybe. Don't knock it till you try it, I guess. Hmm. Some theories suggest a decrease in atmosphere pressure after the flood affected human health and vitality. And many interpretations suggest that God set a specific limit on human life to curb the spread of wickedness. It is quite nice having, I mean, maybe this is someone talking from someone who's still quite young, but it is quite nice having a limit to life and not being immortal, because I feel like you get more out of life, because this world that we live in, our lives are finite. It means that what we do in them matters a lot more, and I like that. I like that aspect of life. It makes it a little bit more interesting. So I think it's time to carry on. But I just actually, before I do, I really want to just look into this a little bit more. So it's given the biblical idea, but I was wondering if there's any like scientific idea here. The first thing that, like, I don't know, was it 12 months in a year? Is that during the time of Noah's Ark, were there 12 months in a year? Because if they're measuring years differently, then maybe things are. The year was divided into 12 months. So yeah, it was. Interesting. And yet I believe, like, isn't that supposed to be our like most accurate form of timekeeping? Who was the scientist who said that? I can't remember. Neil. I'm gonna butcher this last name. Neil deGrasse Tyson. Didn't he say that the calendar we have today is the most accurate? Is that right? Maybe. Are there any more Atheistic. Is that a word? It is now. Bible Eclipse, inventing words since 2026. Atheistic explanation as to why people lived longer. Would you just say no? I've got to, we've got to dive deep here because again, don't know what this final question is, and I really don't want to miss something out. We're going to take this nice and slow and really try and understand this. And yeah, let me know at the end as well if you can answer the question. I'll be interested to see if you can do it. That's it. That's your challenge as well. We'll go on this challenge together. How amazing. We're like best friends now. Oh, people lived longer. Bible. So it's either symbolic, cultural parallels. That's interesting. The Bible's not unique in mentioning long lifespans. Seems like a weird thing to include, doesn't it? If it wasn't true. It's a weird detail to need to add. Like it wouldn't matter really if you even included the ages at all. Do you know what I mean? If I read that and it just said this person was, this person was related to this person who was related to this person who was related to Adam, who was related to Noah, and you saw it through that line. I don't think it'd matter if they included the detail of the age, and yet they decided to put it in. So interesting thing of selection there. Oh, so there is like an idea that it might be a different calendar system. Enoch principle, solar correlation. That's interesting. So the Enoch, who lived 365 years, which correlates to the days in the year, solar year, suggests a symbolic association with solar or cosmic patterns rather than a record of a human life. Interesting. Okay, let's carry on. Let's carry on in the story. So we got the wickedness of humankind. Here we go. When people began to multiply on the face of the ground, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that they were fair, and they took wives for themselves and all that they chose. Then the Lord said, My spirit shall not abide in mortals forever, for they are flesh. Their days shall be 120 years. Ooh, that's an interesting detail. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterwards when the sons of God went into the daughters of humans who bore children to them. These were the heroes that were old warriors of renown. Right, first, so two things I want to find out here. What on earth is a Nephilim, and what else is there here? The sons or the detail of 120 years. Now that's interesting because isn't the max heartbeat like recorded of 120 minus your age, and that gives you your resting or maximum heartbeat? So that's an interesting correlation. Let me just look at that one. How do I calculate my maximum heart rate. 220 minus what? That's confusing. My resting heart rate. I'm going to just lead the witness here. What link is there to 120 and heart rate? Nope, I was completely wrong. Someone doesn't pay attention in school. A resting heartbeat over. Oh, no, no. Yeah, no. I was completely wrong. Never mind. Moving on. But that's a little bit more. Now, this is interesting, though, because it says their days shall be 120 years. So this is like the limiting of. It's gone from 900, nearly like what is that? A millennial? Nearly a millennium they're living through, and now they've been limited to 120 years, which I presume is just a rough estimate because not everyone would live to 120. So I bet when I look up who is was the oldest person in the world, it'll be like 122. There you go. So it's not like a cap at 120, but pretty darn close. Like 120 is, that is quite a close sort of cut off there to 120. And you've got to bear in mind the time this was written is not sort of, I presume people, I mean, you think of people in like the Middle Ages living to like 40. How long did King Henry VIII live till? How long did Henry VIII live? 55 years. And that's probably like really good for that age. So, yeah. Right. Oh, a Nephilim. What is a Nephilim? What is a Nephilim? Mysterious, powerful beings described in the Hebrew Bible Genesis as offspring from the union between sons of God, divine beings, and daughters of humans. So let's see the biblical context. Existing before and after the flood, mentioned also in Numbers, where spies describe them as large, intimidating figures. And they come from the word actually comes from the idea of the word to fall. So it's interpreted as like the fallen ones. That's quite a nickname. The fallen ones. Origin theories. So it's angelics or like demonic offspring, the union of fallen angels, watchers, and human women, often detailed in the union. So, this is, I've never heard of the Nephilim. This is quite sinister. It's quite scary, actually. The righteous line of Seth mating with wicked line of Cain. Powerful, oppressive human leaders and warriors. So maybe it just means tyrannical rulers. They're often related to the terms of giants, titans. So, what is? I want to know where they went as well. The explanation of the Nephilim. The offspring of sons of God and daughters of men. supernatural offspring were fallen angels who materialized human bodies and mated with human women, creating a hybrid, violent race. Oh, that's scary, that is. Wow. So what happened to them? Where'd they go? Where are they? Are they in the are they underground now? What where did the Nephilim go? Were destroyed in Noah's flood. But it said that it didn't it say also that it came afterwards. Post-flood reappearance, here we go. Describes Nephilim-like giants, descendants of Anak in Canaan, using fear among the Israelites, suggesting they returned later. How interesting. So this is like the idea of like the old world and the new world, and the Nephilim seem to be like the middle ground between where those two collided, of the sinful world and the perfect world, I guess. Let's move on past the Nephilim. The Lord God saw the wickedness of humankind was great on in the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of their hearts was only evil continually. So everything's wicked and is continually evil. And the Lord was sorry that he had made humankind on earth, and it grieved him to his heart. So the Lord said, I will blot out from the earth the human beings I have created, put together the animals and creeping things and birds of the air, for I am sorry that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the sight of God. What does it mean, I'm sorry? What does it mean that God was sorry and grieved? When the Bible says God was sorry or grieved, it refers to divine pathos, expressing deep, holy sorrow over human sin, not a mistake in judgment or a change of mind. That was what I was wondering. Like, it seemed a bit out of character to sort of suggest it was like I've made a mistake, changed my mind, I'm going to go back. So I'm sorry about what's happened, not sorry about like a sorry, a sorrow sorry, not a sorry a mistaken sorry sort of thing. Interesting, cool. I wonder what that word is in the New American Standard Version, the version which translates word for word. Yeah, the word sorry. Oh, let's carry on. So now, so he's going to blot out from the earth the human beings. So he's going to wipe out the human beings, and he's going to put together animals and creeping things and birds and stuff. But bar Noah. So Noah's safe. So why is Noah safe? This is interesting. These are the descendants of Noah. Oh, we're back on the family tree. Noah was. Oh no, we're back. Never mind. I thought it was going to be another long list of births and deaths. Noah was a righteous man, blameless in his generation. Noah walked with God, and Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. He was blameless in the generation. So why was Noah blameless? He walked with God. So it probably doesn't mean that he's like perfect though. And I'm sure I seem righteous in his generation. It's like, yeah, the generation is so bad that compared to them is pretty good. It's quite a low bar. That it's not it's not the biggest, the greatest of accomplishments. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and the earth was filled with violence. Probably from the Nephilim. And God saw that the earth was corrupt, for the flesh had corrupted its way upon the earth. And God said to Noah, I have determined to make an end of all flesh, for the earth is filled with violence. Because of them, now I am going to destroy them along with the earth. I'm going to wipe out everything. Make yourself an ark of cypress wood. Make rooms in the ark and cover it inside and out with pitch. So now he's giving like a shipbuilding tutorial here. He's giving the wood to use. He's saying how he wants it designed. This is how you are to make it. The length of the ark, 300 cubits. Now, how big is a cubit? How big is a cubit? 18 inches. So we'll get on, I guess we'll look up how big the ark is in modern measurements in a minute. Make a roof. So 300 cubits, its width 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits, with a roof for the ark, and finish it to a cubit above. And put the door of the ark in its side. This is quite a detailed. This is very detailed. Like it's not just like build a boat. It's giving actual precise things that's going on here. Like it's giving very actually, like even the fact that the door's on the side, which is I don't know why it'd be on the side. Is that something to do with some practicality? I guess if you've got to load up the animals, you don't want to airlift them in, do you? Where was I? I am going to bring a flood of waters on this earth and to destroy from under heaven all flesh in which the breath of life, in which is the breath of life. So he's going to destroy absolutely everyone. Everything that is on this earth shall die. His factory resetting the whole earth. But I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall come into the ark, you, your sons, your wife, and your sons. Did he say that twice? You, your sons, your wife, and your sons. Interesting. Wives with you. He's mentioned wives as well twice. I want your wives. I want your sons. I want your wives. I want your sons. Wives, plural. Oh, I presume that means the sons' wives as well, not multiple wives. And of every living thing of all flesh, you shall bring 2 of every kind of animal into the ark. Now that's an interesting word, kind. Now, kind. That could suggest. Now, the idea of this, see, the problem is that how many creatures are there on the earth? Like loads, thousands, millions. So kind, that narrows it down a bit. So if you like interpreted that as kind of within a species, so instead of like getting a bunch of like lions, cheetahs, tigers, you just get cat. You know what I mean? And then from that, things like adapt out and become whatever. So theoretically, isn't there an old picture of how many sheep could fit? How many sheep could fit? This is a weird one. Could fit inside Noah's Ark. Oh, that is in Noah's Ark. Now, this, you know how I said that we were going to see how, we're going to use modern metrics to try and understand the size. Well, our modern metric for today is going to be sheep. $125,000 sheep. Okay, right. Sheep is all right because that would facilitate big animals and little animals and create an average, which is the size of a sheep. Okay, so 125,000 sheep could fit in in the ark. So I really hope that the question at the end of the episode here is going to be how many sheep could fit in Noah's Ark. Yeah. By the way, if you've got any forfeits ideas for if I don't manage to answer the question, put them in the chat. I'll be open to hearing some. Yeah, I've got to answer a question at the end. Otherwise, there's a forfeit. And I don't know what that question is. Okay, so 125,000 sheep. So priorities, man. Let's get back to thinking what's up here. So how many kind of animals in the world? Yeah, 1.6 million in categories. How many categories? How many? What would you name it? Like a species, but not like. How many animal families are there? That's the question. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? So it can fit 125,000 sheep, which we're going to take as the average. And yet, if you take into consideration like the families, so imagine like lions, cheetahs, tigers all linked into one like family group, there are only 25,000 families, which suggests that the idea that they could fit 125,000 sheep could actually be possible in the size given, detailed in the Bible. So let's carry on. So it's going to bring 2 of every animal, which obviously is probably needed to keep alive with you. Male and female, of course. Of the birds, he wants birds according to their kind. Of every creeping thing on the ground, according to its kind. 2 of every kind shall come to you to keep them alive. So, he's got to feed them. He's got to clear out their dung. That's going to be a messy job. Yeah, that's a lot of upkeep. Maybe Noah's Ark. This is a conspiracy theory. Maybe Noah's Ark is like a terrarium where it's got its own microclimate and it's all got. They were all in their own habitat and they were all self-sufficient. There you go. Conspiracy theory. Eat your heart out. And take with you every kind of food that is eaten, and store it up, and it shall serve as food for you and for them. Noah did this. He did all that God commanded him. So I'd presume it'd be like a grain store or something on the ship. Something that would store for quite a while. tinned food. Here we go. Great flood. Here we go. Then the Lord said to Noah, "Go into the ark, and you and all your household." So he gets to bring his family, which is quite nice. "For I have seen you alone are righteous before me in this generation. Take with you 7 pairs of clean animals, the male and its mate, and a pair of the animals that are not clean." So the ones that aren't clean, you take 2, and the ones that are clean, you take 7. Now, I want to know, what is the difference between a clean and an unclean animal? What is a clean and unclean animal in the Bible? Animals that are those that Israelites were allowed to eat. So pigs, I presume, would be considered unclean. Aquatic animals, I don't I don't think the aquatic animals need saving, do you? In a massive flood. They're the only pieces of life that is still okay. Now that's interesting actually, because if you like took into consideration, like the abolishment. This might be a little bit of a stretch, but you know how the dinosaurs were wiped out the earth, but yet in oceans and things like you take or like rivers and stuff like crocodiles, like those are dated, aren't they? Dated back to the age of dinosaurs. So there seems to be some level of safety for those living in the sea or in water. Birds as well. Yeah. Weren't chickens a descendant of the T-Rex? Oh, that's a demotion there, isn't it? Really went from the top to the bottom of the food chain. Anyway, back to it. For in 7 days I will send rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, and every living thing that I made I will blot out from the face of the earth. And Noah did all that God commanded. It seems to be a little bit of repetition here. He keeps saying that he's going to blot everything out and he's going to wipe them out. And he's given a little bit of advance notice here. He can plan ahead. He can put it in his calendar. But the interesting thing is, it's he's gone from weatherman to now he's saying giving he's actually more precise than the weather channels. When it says it's going to rain and you look out and it's bright and sunny, and when it says it's bright and sunny, it says it's going to rain. Well, this is God seems to be a lot more precise. There seems to be he's given advance warning of 7 days, and he said it's the exact amount of time it's going to rain for. Now the interesting thing is this date of 40. Where have I heard that before? 40. Jesus in the desert. 40 days in the desert. Now, why is this number 40? Why is the number 40 important in the Bible? Symbolizes a significant period of testing, trial, purification, or preparation. So it's a good amount of time. Is that it? There seems to be a little bit more here. There seems to be something a little bit more meaningful. Receiving the look. Judgment and preparation. Noah's flood lasted 40 days and 40 nights. Receiving the law, Moses stayed on Mount Sinai for 40 days and nights. Testing, wandering. The Israelites wandered for 40 years in the wilderness. Repentance. Jonah warned Nevada for 40 days. Fasting, temptation. Jesus fasted in the wilderness for 40 days. restoration ministry, Jesus appeared to his disciples for 40 days after the resurrection. 40, 40, 40, 40, 40, 40, 40, 40. It seems to be a lot more significant than just saying, it's a good amount of time. I want to get something a little bit more. It's associated with purification and spiritual renewal. Well, it would be if it's constantly throughout the Bible, but why? Why does there we go. Why does God choose 40 days? Complete period of testing. But why? Why is it? It doesn't make any sense. New beginning. Fresh start. Yeah, of course. But why? Here we go. What does this go? Gotquestions.org. I have got a question. Why does the Bible keep going on about the number 40? Yeah. Some people place too much significance on the number 40. Great. Well, put me in that category because I think there is a significance. Because why is there so much? Coincidence? I think not. I think there's something here. A hidden message or code in the Bible. There is more than enough truth in the plain words of the scripture to make us complete and thoroughly equipped for every good work. That seems like I'm just brushing it under the rug here. I want to know why. Here we go. Reddit. Come on, Reddit. Here we go. Near Eastern cultures at that time, 40 was a number that represented testing. Nice. Here we go. Based on some quick research, it doesn't seem like numerology was around until approximately 500 BC. Moses' writing predate this about 1,000 years. Okay. Here we go. This looks good. Shorts 28. 40 is a symbolic number in the Bible representing the time of trial. It's not necessarily an exact reckoning of time. The actual duration of these events were 40 plus or minus. The number was used to show that it was specifically a time of trial. So I guess I like that. If 40 correlates the length of time to be tried, the 40 years in the desert would also fit. Yep, I think it would. So, all right, my interpretation of that then is that it's 40 to sort of translate to the reader, that put it in the genre, as it were, of saying that it's a time of trial. I like that. See, it's not just like you're thinking too much into it. No, I do. I think that I'm satisfied now. All right, I'm satisfied. Let's carry on. Yeah, Noah did all that Lord commanded. Isn't there like I see it all the time online and stuff, where it's like no one knew what Noah was building until the rain started to fall or something like that. Doesn't actually seem to be in the Bible, so I think it's just like an interpretation of what people have written. Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters came on the earth, and Noah with his sons and his wife and his sons, it's done it again. Noah with his sons and his wife and his sons, wives went into the ark to escape the waters of the flood, of clean animals and not clean animals. Oh no, I've just read it twice. Never mind. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, on the seventh day, again, very precise dating here. On that day, all of the fountains of the great deep burst forth, and the windows of heaven were opened. The rain fell on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. On every same day, Noah with his sons Shem and Ham and Japheth, and Noah's wife and the three wives of his sons entered the ark. They and every wild animal of every kind. Again, that word kind is, I think, the important detail there. And all domestic animals of every kind, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, and every bird of every kind, every bird, every winged creature. They went into the ark, two and two of all flesh, in which there was the breath of life. And those that entered, male and female of all flesh, went in as God had commanded him, and the Lord shut him in. Now, what did I think here? There was something. Yeah. Isn't how many different cultures have a story about a flood? How many? Because I think it's quite a few, isn't it? How many different cultures have a story about a great flood? Nearly every culture in ancient civilization. Over 200 distinct legends of a great world-destroying flood exist worldwide, spanning nearly every culture and ancient civilization. Wow! I didn't realize it was that extensive. So this idea of having a massive flood seems to be quite well documented. 200 distinct legends about it. Wow. That's amazing. And many have the same sort of idea of divine punishment to humanity, and a specifically warned survivor, the construction of a boat, the saving of animals, and the eventual return to dry land. So this seems to be quite a interesting, because science would suggest that there's not enough water in the earth to actually be able to do it, and yet, why would it be that every single culture seems to have a story about a great flood in the ancient world? Hmm. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, yep, done that, haven't we? All these paragraphs all look the same in this story. It's all lots of birds, lots of this, lots of blotting out. They went into the ark, yep. Right, the flood continued for 40 days on the earth, and the waters increased and bore up the ark, and it rose high above the earth. The waters swelled and increased greatly on the earth, and the ark floated on the face of the waters. Well, it's a good thing it floated, wasn't it? Otherwise, this will be a short story. He spent ages building an ark only for it to sink like the Titanic. The waters swelled so mightily on the earth that all the high mountains under the whole heaven were covered. The waters swelled above the mountains, covering them 15 cubits deep, and all flesh died that moved on the earth. Birds, domestic animals, wild animals, all swarming creatures that swarmed the earth, and all human beings, and I presume the Nephilim that we found earlier. Hmm. So a lot of people were caught in the flood. Everything on dry land in whose nostrils was the breath of life died. He blotted out every living thing that was on the face of the earth. Only Noah was left, and those that were with him in the ark, and the waters swelled on the earth for 150 days. Now, isn't it like a debate whether it's actually just Noah and that ark, or whether there is multiple other, like, could the other stories also be the same sort of thing? But this is just focused on the story of Noah, so it's like Noah's POV instead of other people's POV, possibly. Hmm. Right. What was it here? There's something. Enter the ark. I feel pretty confident at the minute. You know, I'm ready for any question to come my way. Because again, there'll be a challenge if I can't answer the question, which I don't know anything about. And I'm going to make the forfeit something really difficult. Cool. And God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and all the domestic animals that were with him in the ark. And God made the wind blow over the earth, and the waters subsided. The fountains of the deep and the windows of the heaven were closed. The rain from the heavens was restrained. So it stopped raining. I wish it could stop raining in England. Still raining. It always rains. That that message clearly hasn't reached the United Kingdom. And the waters gradually receded from the earth, so it's slowly starting to go. At the end of 150 days, the waters had abated. So he's actually in the ark for quite a while. So it's not just 40 days and 40 nights. It's 40 days and 40 nights, and then you got to wait for all the water to drain away. And in the 7th month, the 17th day of the month, the ark came to rest on the mountain of Ararat. The waters continued to abate until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the first day of the month, the tops of the mountains appeared. That's interesting, because isn't there like a picture of Noah's Ark that they keep posting in the news on Mount Ararat? I don't know how real this is. Mount Ararat is located in eastern Turkey. It's traditionally identified as the resting place of Noah's Ark. So he's traveled quite far. So what is this? This weird thing that CBN News keeps reporting on. Is this Noah's Ark? But that's not Mount Ararat, is it? Let's get a comparison in. Mount Ararat. Peak in Turkey. Yeah, that does not look like that, though, does it? Feels like, to be honest, like if there, I can see the idea that if there was a big boat, it would like cause a divot, maybe, like, and be covered over by soil. But it's only made of wood, so it would sort of decay, wouldn't it? And also, it wouldn't take a lot, really, would it? I mean, I guess the wood would have been gone by now. So, hmm. What a gigantic boat, though. I know this might not be true, this picture here, but imagine if this is the sort of scale we're thinking. That's like a huge feat to build for one man. Oh, there we go. We got Noah's Ark. um, yeah, it's quite high up, but it says it just rested on the mountain, so it doesn't mean necessarily right at the top. It might be like, a little bit way down. Um, I don't know how true this is. Should I have a look? Do I dare have a look? Uh, an independent researcher has devoted his time to exploring the location near Mount Ararat. So this is near Mount Ararat. Well, that gives a little bit of credibility actually, because if it's near enough, then people would say when writing it down, you'd think, well, it's basically Mount Ararat. You know, no one's going to know the little mountain next to it. You know, the unnamed one. We're going to name it. You know where it is. Um, From Christian claims to Islamic ones, there's a competition of sorts surrounding the story, mixing that it in with a lack of interest in some quarters among other factors has created barriers. I think it's cool to investigate. I think it does. I guess it could add like validity, I guess, to what's being said, because especially as it's like this story of Noah's Ark is a difficult one to try and explain to like a non-believer, because it is quite an unbelievable story based on the size of the sort of ship, the mass quantity of water that flooded the earth, and the amount of animals that would be intended if it were like 125,000. No, that was the sheep. 25,000 is the estimate, which could be possible. Could be possible. Carrying on. At the end of 40 days, Noah opened the window of the ark that he had made and sent out the raven, and it went to and fro until the waters were dried up from the earth. Then he sent out the dove from him to see if the waters had subsided from the face of the ground. But the dove found no place to set its foot, and it returned to him to the ark. Surely you just look out the window and go, yeah, that looks dry. Unless it's still a little bit damp, like boggy. Maybe it's boggy. So it might look dry, but it's not dry. But it might sink. I don't know. Seems like a bit of a, because even if you sent the bird out and it landed somewhere, you're still stuck on the patch that is not dry. You know what I mean? Seems like a bit of a waste of time, but you know, it's cool. It's cool to sort of a cool idea. It's a clever idea actually to find out. And the dove came back to him. So he put out his hand and took it and brought it into the ark. He waited another 7 days, and again he sent out the dove from the ark, and the dove came back to him in the evening, and there in its beak was a freshly plucked olive leaf. So things are starting to grow. So there is a little bit, it's getting a bit better out there. So Noah knew that the waters had subsided from the earth. Then he waited another 7 days and sent out the dove, and it did not return to him anymore. So, starting to get dry. Doesn't need him anymore. I've only fed you for the last 40 days and 40 nights. A little bit of gratitude would have been wouldn't have gone amiss. But no, the dove left and never returned. In the 600th and first year, in the first month, on the first day of the month. Again, this whole story, although it's like an easy one to understand, you know, the idea of like two animals, 2 by 2, big ark, big flood. It's very precise, really, when you look at it. Like the dating is very precise. Like it was even to get to the first day of the month, and they're really getting heavy detail here, which suggests that it's not trying to package this as like a fable, like a sort of an idea that's a little bit more sort of motto, or like a story to try and communicate a particular idea. Instead, it's trying to sort of package this very much so as no, this is what happened. Like, I'm telling you exactly when it happened, where it happened, like who was involved, what's going on. They're trying to. It's not sort of, it doesn't follow the same sort of principle that, like, say, Hansel and Gretel, which, by the way, it's a little sidetrack. Apparently, is actually true. Hansel and Gretel, you know, go look at that at your own risk. But yeah, no, there's but it's not got that sort of fable-esque, you know, slow and steady wins the race sort of feel to it. Hmm. Uh, the waters dried up from the earth, and Noah removed the covering of the ark and looked and saw that the face of the ground was drying. Oh, so I guess he didn't want to like look out himself because otherwise risk of flooding the entire boat. So he only sends the bird out to see. And I guess if it's a huge boat, then you won't be able to really see what's going on because you'd be quite high up. He's quite lucky that the ark sort of landed somewhere relatively safe and then didn't just like especially as it's on top of a mountain, you know, one wrong like rock fall and he's like sliding down that whole thing like a surfer. Then God said to Noah, go out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons and your sons. I don't know whether that's a translation issue in this Bible or whether it's actually correct. Your sons and your sons' wives. Oh, and your sons' wives with you. So it'd help if I'd like carried on reading. It does make sense. Bring out with you every living thing that is with you of all flesh, birds and animals, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, so that they may abound on the earth and be fruitful and multiply on the earth. So there's sort of started again, factory reset. Let's go again. Let's try this again. So Noah went out with his sons and his wife and his sons' wives, and every animal, every creeping thing, and every bird, everything that moves on the earth, went out of the ark by families. See, families. So that actually, let's see, what is that? Genesis 5:13. Let's go on the American Standard Version. 5:13, 7:13, 8:13. Here we go. Where is this? 8. 8:13. It's a bit more. 17. Somewhere here. Bring out with you every living thing, breed abundantly on earth, and be fruitful and multiply on the earth. So Noah went out, and his sons wives with him, every animal, crawling thing, every bird, everything that moves on the earth, and went out by their, what's that word? What's that word? Families, which suggests that it's not every single creature on the earth. Look, hang on, see it. Families, word families, there in black and white. It's not every single creature on the earth, but is in fact every grouping of creature. That's what it seems to me. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know if I'm wrong. I'm happy to see any other point of view. But to me, reading that today, that looks like it's not every single creature 2 by 2. It's every single grouping of creature, which would link back to that number of 25,000. There are an estimated 25,000 animal families. And if we took the average, which is 100, like the average size of an animal, so that takes into consideration the size of like a beetle crossed with the idea of a massive like giraffe, then that would be would give an average of a size of a sheep. Well, we found out earlier that you can fit 120, based on the measurements provided in the Bible, you could fit 125,000 sheep. Well, if that's the average, and you can fit, and there's 25,000 families, well, that leaves 100,000 sheep worth of space, basically, give or take, which suggests that there would be enough food for food, like other sort of amenities. Um, so yeah. Yo, we got someone in the chat. Yes. So I think that's probably one of the biggest mysteries in the Bible, which is the idea of the amount of animals inside the ark crossed with the amount of animals that we know in science as absolutely millions. But if we take that idea of the families, it starts to make a little bit more of a realistic picture of what it is, and a more feasible, because the size of the boat to fit 25,000 animals in, well, it wouldn't be 25,000, would it? Because you need to double it, because it's 2 by 2, so it's about 50,000 animals, which still 125,000 sheep it could fit. We've still got room in that boat. That seems to be a little bit more feasible, just a little bit, especially for building a boat out of wood. I would presume wouldn't be quite structurally there especially in the middle. I'd assume because of the weight of the ship and the length, riding waves, it might be a little bit weak in the middle, especially with it all loaded up with animals and food. But if it's only 25,000 families of 2 by 2, so 50,000 animals with the capacity to hold 125,000 sheep, I think that is perfectly possible. And interesting enough, this has just clicked with me. Earlier, it said about building rooms, which also answers the question about how would the predators not eat the prey? Well, if there's rooms, there will be separation between them. So it's got like a little zoo going on in the ship. Still a lot of dung to clean, though, and a lot of animals to feed. Maybe they just swept it all overboard. I don't know. What do you think? So here we go. We got this. Then Noah built an altar to God. That's interesting. So what is an altar? That's a Jewish thing, isn't it? What is Noah's altar? No, let's just look up Noah's altar. Let's see if there's a... What is an altar? I mean, in Christianity, this is what we got. This is where they take like Holy Communion. Okay. But this is Old Testament in Bible. So this is what would have been. So what constitutes an altar in the Bible? Yeah. Because again, this might be one of the questions asked at the end of the stream. I don't know what the question will be, but if I get it wrong, there'll be a forfeit. And I'm very determined at the minute not to do the forfeit. I don't even know what the forfeit is. That can be decided by you in chat. Make it a good one. Make it difficult. Actually, you know what? Don't even bother, because I'm going to win. You ain't got this. You ain't got this. I've got it. I'm going to get the question right. I'm going to get it right. I am. A raised structure typically made of earth or stone used to making sacrifices. So this is this is Old Testament, the idea of sacrifice before Jesus became the sacrifice. There's ideas of offerings to God and sacrifices for the repentance of sins, maybe? Okay, so yeah. Is the Altars were sometimes grabbed. Mm, so it's like the early sort of church, basically, it would seem. Built an altar to God and took every clean animal and every clean bird and offered burnt offerings on the altar. So this is the idea of sacrifice then that we just saw. And went to the Lord, smelt the and when the Lord smelt the pleasing odor, the Lord said in his heart, I will never again curse the ground because of humankind. For the inclination of the human heart is evil from youth, nor will I ever destroy every living creature as I have done. So this is that idea again of original sin brought by Adam and Eve. Oh, they really did us dirty, didn't they? Adding some spice to the stream. Yeah. 10 minutes before the stream. That's what I came up with. Yeah, if you got any ideas, put them in the chat. Okay, so this idea of it is evil from you, so yeah, born evil, born a sinner. I'm not going to destroy every creature again. Inclination of the human heart. So it's like what is it saying? Like one man's righteousness is worth not wiping out the entirety of Earth, maybe ground because of humankind. We'll see. As long as the earth endures seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease. So as long as the earth endures seed time, so as long as there's harvest, things are growing, there's heat and cold, everything's all right, and the world isn't absolutely messed up, then it'll be all right. I'm not going to wipe you out. God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. The fear and dread of you shall rest on every animal on the earth and every bird of the air, on everything that creeps on the ground, and on the fish of the sea. Into your hands they are delivered. So you have I'm giving you responsibility. Do as you wish. Be careful. Don't mess it up. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. And just as I gave you the green plants, I give you everything. Only you shall not eat the flesh with its life, that is its blood. For your own lifeblood I will surely require a reckoning. For from every animal I will require it, and from human beings each one for blood of another I will require a reckoning of human life. I don't know what that means. I'm going to try and break this down a little bit better. I don't know what that means. I find that a lot in the Bible, actually. I start reading and getting into a flow. I'm like, yeah, starting to understand it. Yeah, I got this. And then you get a verse like that and you're like, what's going on there? So this is the idea that we're going from the green plant-based diet to now the meat-eater diet, which is an interesting one. So now this is seeming like the lifespan, it seems to be going to 120 instead of the previous 900 years old. So whoever sheds... so what does it say here? Sorry, I'm going to skip ahead too fast. For your own lifeblood, I will surely require reckoning. I'm just going to copy and paste that and put it into Google and ask, what does this mean? Because I have no idea. What does this mean? Wait, is it saying that you can't eat people? uh, you can eat meat, just not your own. Only you shall not eat flesh with its life, that it is its blood. Sounds a bit like it. Yeah. It looks. It's saying you can't eat people. Oh, shucks. I was really looking forward to my Kentucky Fried Person. Oh dear. Oh, there you go. Black and white in the Bible. Thou shalt not eat your own brother. Whoever sheds the blood of a human, by a human shall that person's blood be shed, for his own image God made humankind. So that's saying that you are really defacing. If you eat someone, you're really defacing what's going on. Chat said no Kentucky Fried Person. Oh dear. And you shall be, so yeah, don't do that, otherwise your own image will be tarnished, sort of thing. Like you will not be recognizable as, because you almost saying you won't be human anymore if you do that. Interesting. And you be fruitful and multiply, abound on this earth and multiply in it. So, go forth. Then God said to Noah and to his sons, ask for me. I am establishing my covenant with you. What does the word covenant mean? What is in the Bible? Framework of interpreting the Bible, entire covenant. No, not theology. In the Bible, a binding agreement, like my binding agreement with you, that if I don't, in fact, get the question at the end of the episode, it all goes. I have to do a forfeit. That's my covenant with you. There we go. Also, talking of which, I want to just mention this because I think it's rather fitting, right? That as we're doing a story, researching into a story about animals and a biblical story revolving around animals, I think it's a good time to mention that I have a great children's book which tells the story of Herod and the Nativity in a child-friendly way that is engaging. Also engaging for parents. I've had very good reviews from parents reading it to their kids, some of which even enjoy it even more than the kids. But yeah, this is the story of the Nativity and King Herod told through lovely illustrations. Look at that. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And it's available on Amazon now. Yeah, would recommend, but I'm a little bit biased. So take my word for it. Anyway, let's get back to it. So, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds and the domestic animals and every animal of the earth with you, as many as came out of the ark, I establish my covenant with you. And never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of a flood. And never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. But wasn't there a guy in Africa recently, I think it was this year or last year, who was prophesizing that there was going to be a flood, and that he was going to be, God had spoke to him and he's going to build an ark. So it's basically just copied the story of Noah's Ark, which, it made didn't it make main news? Modern guy who built Noah's Ark saying there was a flood. Ebo Noah, this guy, This guy here said that he was wanting to build a boat because there was going to be a flood, and he even gave like a specific time. Look, 2025 Christmas flood. He said there was going to be a flood. Oh, bless him. And there was no flood. I think he got like a lot of people invested or something, so they got like really annoyed with him when the flood didn't come. But if he had just, read the Bible or just tuned into this Bible Eclipse live stream, he would have known that in Genesis, right at the beginning of the Bible, it says that he will not ever, never again, shall all flesh be cut off the waters of a flood. Yeah, poor guy. Better make your amends. But yeah, no, this guy was everywhere, bro. Absolutely everywhere. He kept popping up. Okay, so I have set my bow in the clouds, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. When I bring clouds over the earth and bow, and the bow is seen in the clouds, I will remember my covenant that is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh, and the waters shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. When the bow in the clouds, what is a bow in the clouds? It keeps mentioning this word. I don't know what a bow in the clouds is. Bow in the clouds. There's a bow in my cloud. What is it? A bow is part of a ship. Yeah, that's yeah, right. Yeah. When you see the ship appear in the clouds, I will remember. I wonder if that's where the idea of where that word comes from in the English, because it's in Genesis. The idea of Noah's Ark. Bow of a ship comes from Noah's Ark. Maybe. I like a lot of things in the English language, and other languages are influenced by the Bible. Like the idea of God be with you. Well, years and years and years of saying farewell by saying God be with you has been shortened down to God be you or something, and then slowly it's just morphed into goodbye. And then you think of like adios and things. Adios in Spanish is God, so adios, I don't know what that means, but it's got to be something similar to goodbye, you know what I mean? Like God be with you sort of vibes. Oh, rainbow. It's not bow. Bow. So when you see the bow in the sky, the rainbow. So it's a rainbow. Oh, that's nice. So it's also like the rainbow symbolic of this story. Oh, you know what? Now I'm gonna see when I see a rainbow in the sky, I'm gonna think of Noah's Ark now. How nice. Similar thing with Godspeed, meaning good luck. Yeah, brilliant example. Godspeed, good luck. Yeah, amazing. I like those little like details that you find in history, like that. I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature and the creature of all flesh that is on the earth. God said to Noah, "This is the sign of covenant that I have established between me and all the flesh on the earth." So this is the agreement that I have made, and I'm going to give you a little rainbow every so often after it rains, so that I can, see what's up. You can remember this story. The sons of Noah went out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. There's a place called Canaan, isn't there? Which is probably named after this guy. These three were the sons of Noah, and from these were the whole earth These three were the sons of Noah, and from these the whole earth was peopled. Interesting. Noah, a man of the soil, was the first man to plant a vineyard. Now this is a bit weird. I can't lie, because it's sort of finished the story of Noah's Ark a bit. You know, the Ark's done. Don't know where, left on the mountain, left to confuse archaeologists in the future. And now it's switched to this idea that he's planting a vineyard. So he's gone on a bit of a side quest. This is a bit of an extension to the story that's like, yeah, we're done, but we got the behind, you know, in the end credits of a film when they start playing extra bloopers. This is like the bloopers coming up. The idea of the planting of the vineyard. So he plants a vineyard. He drank some of the wine and became drunk, and he lay uncovered in his tent. So he's got drunk and he's naked in his tent. Not a good look, if I say so myself. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside that Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both their shoulders, walked backwards, and covered their nakedness of their father. So, so what they've done here is they've gone into the tent, gone, oh God, yeah, Dad's got drunk and he's not a good look. He's naked in his tent. Oh, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna get some garments and we're just gonna reverse back into that, so we don't have to look at that disgrace on the floor. And we're gonna put him, and we're gonna cover him up without actually looking at him. I like the detail there. The detail there is pretty good. Their faces were turned. I like how it specified we didn't want to look at what that was about. And they did not see their father's nakedness. When Noah woke up from his wine and knew that his youngest son had done it to him, he said, "Cursed be Canaan, lowest of the slaves shall he be to his brothers." But it wasn't even. Why was it just Canaan who got into trouble? Why was, and then he's blessed Shem. Here, look. He also said, "Blessed by the Lord my God be Shem, and let Canaan be his slave." Blimey, that's a tough one. I can see who the favourite child is here. Oh dear. So what? Shem, naked. Yeah. So it's the two brothers. So Ham just seemed to sort of get away with it. He doesn't even seem to be. He doesn't even seem. They both clothed their naked dad, and yet Canaan is the cursed one to be his brother's slave for the favourite child of Shem. That's how my interpretation of this is looking. May God make space for Japheth, and let him live in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be his slave. So he's really got it in for Canaan, all because he thought, oh, I'm just gonna clothe Dad. He's not. He's got drunk. He's naked. I don't want to see that. I'm gonna put something over him, and then he's absolutely crashed out here, and has gone into a spitting rage where he's cursed him to God to say that he wants him to be the other brother's slaves. I think it's a little bit of an overreaction, just a tad. Is this the reason that drunkenness is frowned upon? Also, interesting enough about this story. So previously, Noah was considered sort of the righteous one, you know, the one that was worth saving. But then even here, it shows that even Noah fell short. Is drunkenness a sin? Is drunkenness a sin? That's a good start. In most Christian traditions, getting drunk is considered a sin because it involves a loss of self-control. You know, Jesus drank wine, but there's a difference between drink. It doesn't say you can't drink alcohol. It just says you can't get drunk. I guess drunk creates foolishness, like Noah. So is drunkenness a sin because of Noah? Because not okay, so apparently it's not directly because of Noah, but you know what? I think it probably is. They don't want to pass the blame on him, but I don't know. It's not a good look for Noah. Noah's fallen short. He's gone from celebrity to front page in the tabloids. Okay, so here these are the descendants. We're going to wrap it up soon in a minute, and we get to the final question. Oh, I'm nervous. I'm nervous. Oh, if I don't get it right, oh, it'll be on. It'll be, post if I don't get it right, I'll post it on. The I will post the challenge. What's the word? I will post the. What's the word? The forfeit. I will post the forfeit on Instagram, whatever it is. If only if I don't get it. Here we go. My mic was muted again, but here we go. Here comes the final question. I'm gonna get it a little bit nicer in the future because I've only came up with this idea 10 minutes before streaming. I'm gonna make sure the next time it's a little bit more prepared. I won't ever know what the question is. I'm gonna try and work out a way. I'll get someone else to write it. Maybe get one of you to come up with a question. But today I'm going to ask AI this question here as a prompt, and then it will hopefully give me a really challenging question. I have been studying deeply Noah in the Bible. I want a really challenging question. Make it hard. And I'm going to put really hard. Here we go. Send. Here we go. Right, I'm going to cover up anything else. I might have to go chat GPT. The question. Here we go. Here we go. Right. Oh my God. He's giving me a really challenging question here. Oh, I need a sip before I read this. Here we go. The question. If the purpose of the flood was to destroy a world filled with violence and corruption, to establish a righteous remnant, why does the Bible immediately follow the purging of the world with the account of Noah's drunkenness, nakedness, and the subsequent dysfunction with his family? Furthermore, how does God's post-flood covenant, which promises no further destruction despite continued human evil, align with the necessity of the destruction in the first place? That's I asked for it to be challenging, and that is certainly a challenger. Ooh, right. So I can get the first part. The second part, I'm a bit concerned about. Right. So I think that the reason, and feel free to try and answer this yourself, you guys. Like, just comment down below your answer to this because I'll be interested to hear, and I'll leave it up to you to decide whether I succeed on this or not. But here we go. If the purpose, so I'm just going to read it one more time. If the purpose of the flood was to destroy a world filled with violence and corruption to establish righteous remnant, why does the Bible immediately following the purging of the world with the account of Noah's drunkenness, nakedness, and the subsequent dysfunction with his family? So I think it's to show that we, even good old Noah, who is considered the righteous one, even he falls short. So he isn't perfect. And along with his family. And that, I think, sets the stage nicely for the upcoming Jesus Christ. That's my idea. I might be wrong, but I'm going to give myself that part. Now, the second part, I might need a minute. Let's see what's going on here. Furthermore, how does God's post-flood covenant, which promises no further destruction despite continued human evil, align with the necessity of the destruction in the first place? Guys, I'm not sure if I'll be able to answer this. Furthermore, I'm going to set a timer. If I can't work, I'll get 60 seconds. 60 seconds. If after that 60 seconds, I can't form a good enough... Actually, 60 seconds might be a bit of a long time. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. If in 30 seconds, that's 30 minutes. Oh, that would have been a long stream, wouldn't it? 30 seconds. Right, in 30 seconds, starting now, if I can't work this out, then the forfeit will stand. Furthermore, how does God's post-flood covenant, which promises no further destruction despite continued human evil, align with the necessity of the destruction in the first place? What does that mean? 10 seconds. How does God's first flood... So he first creates a covenant that he's not going to do it. A destruction in the first place. I think I'm going to try a little bit longer, but I'll take the forfeit on that. So yeah, let me know. Keep an eye out. We'll be on Instagram, Bible Eclipse on Instagram. I think it's Bible Eclipse Official on Instagram. And I will post the forfeit on there because of this darn question. Furthermore, how does God's post-flood... Right, what is the answer? What is the answer to that? I think I was right on the first. Therefore, because it was a two-parter as well, I feel like I need a little bit of leniency. So whatever your forfeit is, don't go too hard on me. You know, because we'll do this every stream. So, yeah. Make a progression from divine judgment to common grace. The post-flood covenant. Here we go. Let me show you. And the necessity of the flood are reconciled in theology as a progression from divine judgment to common sense, to common grace. The destruction was... Oops. Was... Hang on. Let me turn that down. Got myself talking. The destruction was an act of justice against extreme systemic wickedness, while the covenant represents God's decision to sustain a broken world, allowing humanity to exist despite its continued... despite its continuing of evil. Okay, right. Yeah, I wouldn't have got that. I will hold up my hands. I'll take the punishment there. Woo! That was a tough question, though. Oh, my light's destroyed. Yeah, that was a tough question. So basically, from my understanding now of what that is, it's the idea that he did the thing, he did the flood. God did the flood because of the extreme evil, but now he's decided to allow humanity to exist despite the continuation of evil. That is a tough question. I don't even mind losing to a question that tough. I'll get you next time. Stay tuned on the Bible Clips Instagram, and I'll post the forfeit. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next live stream. Adios. God be with you.